decided to start their road trip by taking Jules to the Herefordshire Light Infantry Museum.
Oh, crikey! Peel this off me, Bill.
I'm not sure Charles Morgan made a bigger car than this.
There were small people in those days, that's for sure.
They'd come to learn about the regiment's part in one of the defining moments of the First World War and are meeting Colonel Andy Taylor to find out more.
Jules, you better tell me if I got a salute anything, look.
Don't think there's any need to do that this morning. Hey, good morning, Jules.
Nice to see you, sir. How are you?
Welcome to Serrell Barracks and the home of the Herefordshire Regimental Museum.
Well, you've packed this, haven't you?
There's a lot packed into this small room, but then there's a lot of history to the regiment as well. The barracks here has been the home of reserve soldiers from Herefordshire for over 150 years, and they marched away from here to the Boer War, the First World War, and the Second World War.
The Battle of Gallipoli in Turkey was one of the Allies' great disasters of World War I. It was a failed attempt by the Allied forces to control the sea route from Europe into Russia. Had it been successful, it would have allowed the Allies to link up with the Russians, and the plan was then to knock Ottoman Turkey, an ally of Germany, out of the war. The naval and land operations started in 1915, and a battalion from the Herefordshire Regiment was in combat not long after.
Gallipoli was notoriously
Yes, it was. And the first landings took place in April, which were at Cape Helles and in Anzac Cove. And that soon developed into stalemate. And a second landing was proposed to the north at Serrell Bay to try and break that stalemate. And it was that landing in August which the Herefordshire Regiment took part in. They landed on August the 8th. There was a degree of confusion, as there was right the way through the battle. The support, the organisation was not as good as it should have been. And the Herefordshire Regiment landed. They had no maps, they had no orders. They were eventually given orders and told to advance to a dried up river course. They advanced, didn't meet the enemy, but took a lot of casualties through artillery fire.
For a campaign that lasted less than a year, the death toll at Gallipoli was very high, with around 50,000 Allied soldiers losing their lives. But their deaths were not in vain.
In many ways, Gallipoli was the first amphibious assault, and the planning was not as detailed as it should have been. And I think the lessons learned were not to underestimate the enemy, not to underestimate the territory, to plan well, to support the forces well. And I think that those lessons were learned, so the great amphibious landings of the Second World War, D-Day for example, would perhaps not have been successful as they were. We've got here a collection of artefacts from Captain Ashton, and Captain Ashton was the adjutant of the battalion at Serrell Bay, and he was the first officer to land on the beaches there, and he was also the last officer to be evacuated on the 12th of December. Captain Ashton wrote a diary of his time at Gallipoli, and later during the war as well, and there are some extracts here which you might be interested in.
I had been the first ashore. I was the last to leave. It was impossible not to notice the contrast that brilliant August morning, 750 strong, the battalion full of fight and high endeavour. This dark December night, slinking away under 100 strong, weary, dirty, disillusioned, and yet I was sorry to go.
Yes, I think there was a great survivor's guilt amongst those individuals. They'd started the campaign with such high endeavour. They'd suffered so much. They'd lost good friends, either killed or wounded, and they had achieved next to nothing.